Well, thank you very, very much. Thank you, Bill, for the very, very kind introduction. Thank you so much for your and Roxanne's leadership. You're incredible. Bill is chairing our statewide leadership team. We have an amazing team on the ground. Thank you for your incredible, principled, conservative leadership here in the state of New Hampshire. And Mike and Marmar, thank you so much for hosting us at your wonderful home. Thank you for inviting us here. What an incredible view. What an incredible place to be. And thank you, each of you, for coming out this evening and spending some time visiting today and having a conversation. God bless the great state of New Hampshire. Now, how many of y'all watched the debate in Cleveland? How incredible is it that we have such an amazing array of talent? Young, inspirational, dynamic leaders stepping forward to lead our party and to lead this country. And what a contrast with the Democrats. You know, I'm pretty sure the first Democratic debate is going to consist of Hillary Clinton and the Chipotle clerk. Well, actually, now, that's not fair. That's not fair. We can't forget about Bernie Sanders. So now the Democratic field consists of a wild-eyed socialist with ideas that are dangerous for America and the world, and Bernie Sanders. And you know, it's really quite amazing to see the Democrats. They keep moving their debates. First it was going to be September, then October, then November. You know, I think they may just move it to 2017. And you know, it's not widely known, but actually the Democrats had planned an earlier debate. The problem was the debate invitation was emailed to Hillary. You know, we're here tonight because our country's in crisis. We're here tonight because we're bankrupting our kids and grandkids. Because our constitutional rights are under assault from Washington. And because America has receded from leadership in the world, and it has made the world a much more dangerous place. And yet I'm here tonight with a word of hope and encouragement and optimism. All across New Hampshire and all across this country, the American people are waking up. And I want to tell you, help is on the way. So I want to ask everyone here to look forward. Look forward to January 2017. If I'm elected president, let me tell you what I intend to do on the first day in office. The first thing I intend to do is rescind every single illegal and unconstitutional executive action taken by this president. The president likes to say he's got a phone and he's got a pen. Well, you live by the pen, you die by the pen. And my pen has got an eraser. But sadly, the corruption we've seen, it hasn't been limited to the White House. It has pervaded every agency of the federal government. And this Department of Justice is the most lawless, partisan Department of Justice we've ever seen. The second thing I intend to do on the first day in office is direct the Department of Justice to open an investigation into Planned Parenthood and these horrible videos. And to prosecute any and all criminal violations by that organization. You know, the administration of justice should be blind to party or ideology. The only fidelity should be to the laws and the Constitution of the United States of America. The third thing I intend to do on the first day in office is instruct the Department of Justice and the IRS and every other federal agency that the persecution of religious liberty ends today. That means that every serviceman and woman can pray and worship God Almighty, and his commanding officer has nothing to say about it. That means the Little Sisters of the Poor, a Catholic charity of nuns who've taken vows of poverty. They devote their lives to caring for the poor and the elderly. Right now, today, the Obama administration is litigating against the Little Sisters of the Poor, trying to impose millions of dollars of Obamacare fines on them in order to try to force the nuns to pay for abortion-inducing drugs in others. Now, let me give y'all a real simple rule of thumb. If you're litigating against nuns, you've probably done something wrong. In January 2017, instead of receiving a legal summons from the Obama Justice Department, the Little Sisters of the Poor will receive notification that the case against them has been dismissed. The fourth thing I intend to do on the first day in office is rip to shreds this catastrophic Iranian nuclear deal. The single greatest national security threat facing America today is the threat of a nuclear Iran. Well, the two are intertwined. You know, several weeks ago, I observed that if this deal goes through, the Obama administration quite literally will become the world's leading financier of radical Islamic terrorism. Now, in response to that, President Obama got very upset. And I do so hate to dismay the man. He interrupted his busy travels abroad in between the 8th and 9th holes to attack me directly. He said what Cruz said is ridiculous. That rhetoric is too much. You can't say that. Let me give you a very, very simple principle. Truth is not rhetoric. And in the entire course of his attack, the president actually didn't bother to try to refute any of the substance of what I'd said. So let's review the facts. Fact number one, Iran is today the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. Fact number two, if this deal goes through, over $100 billion will flow directly to Iran and the Ayatollah Khamenei. Fact number three, if that happens, billions of those dollars will flow to Hamas, to Hezbollah, to the Houthis, to radical Islamic terrorists across the globe, and those jihadists will use those billions to murder Americans, to murder Israelis, and to murder Europeans. If President Obama doesn't like the rhetoric of his administration becoming the world's leading financier of radical Islamic terrorism, there is an easy solution. Stop financing radical Islamic terrorism. The fifth thing I intend to do on the first day in office is begin the process of moving the American embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, the once and eternal capital of Israel. Now, you know, a lot of presidential candidates, both Democrats and Republicans, have made that promise. And yet, when they get to the White House, they don't do it. Inevitably, their teams come up to them and they say, you know what? If you do that, there are going to be a lot of other folks in the Middle East really, really unhappy with us. Well, if you hadn't noticed, they're already pretty unhappy with us. And the single biggest difference between me and the other very fine gentleman standing on that debate stage in Cleveland is that with me, when I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do exactly what I said I would do. That's day one. There are 365 days in a year, 4 years in a presidential term, and 4 years in a second term. By the end of 8 years, there are going to be a whole lot of reporters and journalists and editors who've checked themselves into therapy. In the days that come, I will go to Congress and we will repeal every word of Obamacare. In the days to come, I will instruct the Federal Department of Education, which should be abolished. Okay. I will instruct the Department of Education that Common Core ends today. In the days that follow, we will rebuild our military and we will honor the commitments made to every soldier and sailor and airman and Marine. And we will allow our servicemen and women to exercise their right to keep and bear arms and defend themselves. That means that the next time a jihadist shows up at a recruiting station in Chattanooga, he's going to meet the business end of the firearms wielded by a dozen Marines. In the days that follow, we will finally secure the border and end sanctuary cities. We will stop the Obama administration's indefensible policies of releasing violent, criminal, illegal aliens, and we will pass Kate's Law. In the days that follow, we will take on the EPA and the CFPB and the Department of Labor and OSHA and the alphabet soup of federal agencies that descend like locusts on small businesses, and we will unchain small businesses to create jobs and opportunity for every American. And in the days that follow, I will go to Congress, and we will pass fundamental tax reform, passing a simple flat tax. So that every American can fill out his or her taxes on a postcard. And when we do that, we should abolish the IRS. There are about 90,000 employees at the IRS. We need to padlock that building. Take all 90,000 and put them down on our southern border. Now, I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek. But if you think about it, imagine, sir, you traveled thousands of miles in the blazing sun. You're swimming across the Rio Grande. And the first thing you see is 90,000 IRS agents. You turn around and go home, too. Now, some of y'all may be thinking, all of that makes sense to me. It's simple common sense. Live within your means. Don't bankrupt our kids and grandkids. Follow the Constitution. But can it be done? Can we do it? Yes. You know, Scripture tells us there's nothing new under the sun. I think where we are today is very, very much like the late 1970s. Same failed economic policies. Same misery, stagnation, and malaise. Same feckless and naive foreign policies. In fact, the exact same countries, Russia and Iran, openly laughing at and mocking the President of the United States. Now, why is it that analogy gives me so much hope and optimism? Because we know how that story ended. All across this country, millions of men and women came together from the grassroots and became the Reagan Revolution. And it didn't come from Washington. Washington despised Ronald Reagan. By the way, if you see a candidate who Washington embraces, run and hide. It came from the American people, and it turned this country around. The reason I'm so optimistic is the same thing is happening again. All over this country. You know, when we launched our campaign, the New York Times promptly said, Cruz cannot win because the Washington elites despise him. I kind of thought that was the whole point of the campaign. Listen, if you think Washington is doing great, that we're headed in the right direction, we just need to fiddle around the edges, then I ain't your guy. On the other hand, if you think Washington is fundamentally corrupt, that there is a bipartisan corruption of career politicians in both parties that get in bed with lobbyists and special interests and grow and grow and grow government, and we need to take power out of Washington and back to we the people, that is what this campaign is all about. Let me close with a final observation. You know, for all of us here, liberty isn't some abstract concept we read about in a textbook. Liberty's real, it's personal, it's our lives, it's our families. You know, I think about my mom. My mom is Irish-Italian, born in Wilmington, Delaware. Her mom was the second youngest of 17 kids. They were Irish Catholic. They didn't know what else to do on a Saturday night. It was a working class family, a blue collar family. My mom became the first person in her family ever to go to college. Now, my grandfather, my mom's dad, was a difficult man. He was a drunk. And he didn't think women should be educated. And he definitely didn't think his daughter should be the first person in the family to go to college. Well, my mom ended up standing up to her father. And she went to Rice University, graduated with a degree in math in 1956. She went to work at Shell as a computer programmer. Now, you want to talk about two industries, computer science and oil and gas. that were not very welcoming to women. My mom was at the intersection of both. You know, my mom used to tell me she very deliberately didn't learn how to type. She said, look, it was the 1950s. I understood the world I was living in. She said, I didn't want to be walking down the hall and have a man stop me and say, sweetheart, would you type this for me? My mom wanted to be able to smile very, very sweetly and with a clean conscience say, I would love to help you out, but I don't know how to type. I guess you're going to have to use me as a computer programmer instead. My mom turned 80 last year. She's a woman of incredible strength and fortitude. She is a loving and amazing grandmother to our 2 little girls. And then I think of my dad, Rafael Cruz. My dad was born in Cuba. He grew up in Cuba. And as a kid, as a teenager, he began fighting in the Cuban Revolution. He was thrown in prison and tortured in Cuba. Batista's police beat him halfway to death. My dad fled Cuba in 1957. And he came to America. He was 18 years old. He couldn't speak English. He had $100 sewn into his underwear. And he got a job washing dishes, making 50 cents an hour. And he worked 7 days a week. He paid his way through school. And he and my mom went on to start a small business together. Today, my father is a pastor. He travels the country preaching the gospel. Now, my whole life, my dad has been my hero. But you know what I find most incredible about his story? How commonplace it is. Every one of us here, we have a story just like that. Whether it's us, or our parents, or our great-great-great-grandparents. What ties Americans together, every one of us, is we are the children of those who risked everything for freedom. That is the fundamental DNA of what it means to be an American. It is why I am so optimistic. I remember what my dad used to tell me over and over again when I was a kid. He used to say, when we faced oppression in Cuba, I had a place to flee to. If we lose our freedom here, where do we go? That is why all of us are here tonight. Because we are not prepared to go quietly into the night. We are not prepared to give up on our kids and grandkids. Let's live free or die. And if we come together, if we rise up from the grassroots, from we the people, we will restore liberty. We will restore the Constitution. We will bring back that last best hope for mankind, that shining city on a hill that is the United States of America. Thank you.